She's recording. Hello there, hi, this is Rosa Rubio Giota, RCG Creations. How are you? Today we're going to be making chili, only the chili with no veggies. So it's just going to be tomato sauce, which I'm going to puree my diced tomatoes. I'm using the Kroger Petite diced tomatoes and tomato juice. And this one is 1 pound, 12 ounces. And I'm going to puree this. I need to get me a towel. Oh, wait, you know, I'm going to wash this today anyway. Okay, so I'm going to puree that, and I'm going to put it in my stock pot. The ground meat, hubby's already cooked it all, so we're ready. We're going to be doing, how many pounds of ground beef did you cook, Pop? 6 pounds, so we're going to double up the batch. Because the batch, my recipe asks for 3 pounds of ground beef, so we're going to double everything up. Okay, so I'm going to puree, and this, I'm using the Braun. There's a name for this thing. I forget what you call it. But anyway, it's a blender. You just stick it in there. And this particular model has different numbers and lists and stuff on here. I've never known what to do with it. Oh, I see here. There's a little dot you can put on there. But I always do maximum because all I ever do is puree with it. And make sure you always turn it off before you can pick it up, because the blades are going and it's going to have food everywhere. Believe me, I know. So you see how it's all nice. Sorry about that. I want to make sure it was recording. Now I've already pureed all the tomatoes. And so that's a total of 4 quarts, because I'm doubling my recipe, of crushed or whole tomatoes. And now it's asking for 3 to 6 tablespoons of chili powder. So I'm only going to do 3. But I'm going to double that, so there'll be a total of 6. Okay, come on. Why is this pouring out? Let me get a knife. Oh, I just dropped the knife. Oh, it was all cakey inside. I just bought it, just opened it. And this is the Great Value chili powder. One, 2, 3. I'm doubling the recipe. Okay, so the bottom of this is all cakey too. And this is standard. This is the way it is when it's, who knows how long a product's set on the store shelf life. And this is just typical. 1. 2. I'm going to do a little bit less than 3 since it's spit. Because I don't care for a whole lot of spice. Hubby does, but I don't. So, and I just personally like to make sure to wipe all the extra flakes off the edge, just so it gets a good airtight seal when I close it down. Sorry about the reach there. Alrighty, so already browned the ground beef. We're not putting any veggies in it. It's already been drained. We're not, okay, so now I'm going to turn the burner on. I'm going to do it at a medium high. Let me get my spoon. And I'm going to stir that up. I'm going to stir it really good well first. And then I'm going to put the ground beef in there. Feel the heat, but the pan's not hot yet because I just turned it on. But Okay, so I'm just stirring this up, but I'm going to bring you up so you can see that. I'm just stirring. I'm going to stir the chili powder with the tomato sauce really well. I want to make sure that's really incorporated before I put the ground meat in. So, let me set this back down. I'm scraping the sides of the pan for any chili powder. And when I no longer see the streaks of the powder, that's when I'll add the ground meat. That way it has time to simmer and sizzle, and the flavors of the tomato sauce with all the seasonings will get into the meat. So that worked out good. Get my spoon raised here. I don't want to get everything all dirty. Okay. Now here's my ground meat. Let's see, can you see that? Yep, you can see that. So let me scoop that in. Actually, let me see if I can do it this way. There we go. I just don't want it to splatter on anything. I do have my recipe on a sheet protector, so if it does get food to splatter, I can just wipe it down with a wet towel and it won't stain my recipe. That's another little tip I personally like to do. Well, this pot is almost just big enough. And I'm going to get myself a bigger spoon, a taller spoon. I like to use these old-fashioned ones with the metal. I just think they're a little bit more sturdy than the solid plastic ones that are kind of flimsy. Now I'm just going to stir it around, make sure the meat and the tomato sauce is all mixed up. And then don't forget, before you're totally done, to taste it to see if it's got a good taste. You may need to add some kind of additional seasonings to it. Huddy likes he asked me to put some garlic powder in there, so I'm already going to put some garlic powder in there, but I'm going to let him have a taste before I add more to it. Because remember, whatever it tastes like before you can it, it's what it's going to taste like after you can it. Except for maybe the texture, because it will process for 90 minutes because this is a meat product. But other than that, the flavor will all be there exactly. Whenever you're done and you open up your jar, either tomorrow, next week, 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now. What I've been reading, because I started canning this year, is nobody really leaves anything more than 18 months. Just because a lot of the product does lose its nutrients. Anything longer than 18 months. So I'm learning to can just what I know that we're going to eat within a year. And then replenish my stock in my food pantry when that product is down to the last jar or last 2 jars. Since really I only get to can on my days off, weekends usually, typically. I'm off today because it's Christmas Day. But I thought making a nice bowl of chili would be good, and then pressure can all the extras. So on days we don't want to cook, or we don't have time to cook, all we have to do is open up a jar, heat it up, and we're ready to eat supper or lunch. And this Will also taste great on, if you want to put it on hot dogs. Typically I would add beans to our chili because we like our chili with beans, but I already pressure canned, I think it was like 64 jars of black beans. We like black beans, and I also did, I think it was 32 of pintos. And since they've already pressure canned, I don't like the texture of reprocessing beans twice. They get mushy. So I'm just going to open a jar of beans, drain it, and add it when we heat this up to get ready to eat. But typically you can put dry beans in the bottom of your jar. And I will add the notes. I'm going to put this entire full recipe in the description box. Give you two options. This option that I'm doing today, and then the options with adding the full recipe. I like veggies, onions, bell peppers, pieces of celery, all that. I mean, I like a lot of veggies in my chili, but hubby doesn't care for all that too much, and both of us don't like big old chunks of tomato, so that's why we puree the tomatoes, because we don't like the big chunks. Okay, let me bring you back, because now you can see. Hear that? See? Now it's all incorporated. I'm going to let it come to a boil. And then, pretty much we're done after that. Because pretty much we're done. We're just going to taste it. In fact, let me do a little taste test. Let me get a little bowl. Let hubby taste it once it's warmed up a little bit. Yeah, because it's... Let me take this and put this in the sink. And I'll bring you back in a minute. Hey there, I'm back. So the sauce got made. Now I'm going to get ready to can it. But I did get, I'm going to show you, a jar and almost a full jar, 2 quarts of just the tomato sauce that had too much over, but I had to open another can to get it. So anyway, on with the project. Get my funnel. I've got my jars and my lids and my rings sitting in hot water, because you know, hot food, hot jars, hot canner. Water's boiling on the canner, so be ready. Cold food, cold jars, cold water. Keep that in mind anytime you're going to be doing any canning. Okay, so now, oh, you know what? I'm going to, ouch, that's hot. Ouch, that's hot. Slowly, I'm going to move this over to the side. Oh, that's hot, that's hot, it's hot. Now I'm going to use my clean, freshly washed Pyrex container, making it easier for me to pour. Now I do have a towel down. Always remember to put a towel down so you don't crack your jars from a cold surface. And you want to give yourself about a 1-inch headspace, because there's meat in here, which is the bottom ring. Okay, there we go. I'm being careful because that pot is hot. But I'm using my spoon to add any additional to give myself the correct headspace. Okay, I'm going to get another jar. Take out the excess water. I'm not going to use my spatula. Let me move this. Hot, 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 hot. It's hot, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Ouch. But I'm trying to be careful so I don't spill. Okay. Now, second jar. I'm hoping I get a full 7 jars, but actually I just need 5. because I got the 2 jars of tomato sauce. And then we're going to have spaghetti. Actually, I turned this into spaghetti versus chili because chili requires a lot more seasoning and flavoring that hubby just doesn't care for. So he's going to go ahead and end up buying tomorrow a chili mix packet. And then that'll be another video. So I'm going to edit the video at the beginning. I'm not really going to edit anything other than I'm just going to add the description change that this is actually spaghetti sauce, not chili. Because this really tastes like spaghetti sauce. And I did end up adding Italian seasoning to it. And it's really yummy. So I'll modify all this in the description box. And of course, y'all know, y'all watch my videos, I like to add words on the page that I'm talking on the video. So that way if anybody gets confused, they can actually hear what I say, and then the correction would be done in the words on the same screen. Okay, that's not headspace, so let me add a little bit more. Actually, no, that's actually pretty good. Yep, that's actually pretty darn good. This actually worked out pretty good in our favor because hubby was looking in the pantry and he noticed we have no more jars of spaghetti sauce. So that was another reason why I just changed this, and I was lucky enough that I was able to change it before I put all the seasonings in. I did that off camera. So this worked out okay. But pretty much spaghetti sauce and chili is pretty much the same thing. It's just the different seasonings you put in it. Okay. Oops. That one's got hot water. Ouch. I'm going to have to go get my tongs because those are way too hot. Whenever you're doing that, you're working with hot water, just use your tongs to take out the water out of the jars. And then put it on your towel so you don't shock the glass. And then possibly crack it. You may not see it crack when you put it in the jars, but it possibly will crack in the processing time. Oops, forgot my photo. Don't want to make a big mess. But I'm coming to the bottom of the jar, so I don't think I need this anymore. Yeah, I don't need this anymore, and I'm just going to use my spoon. I do have my little ladle, but I don't need it. I'll go ahead and finish canning this up. I'm going to seal my jars and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm totally finished loading my jars. I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4. I ended up with 6 quart jars. And then with the 7th one of just the puree tomato sauce, that'll give me enough for a full canner. So, I'm going to put this in the hot water so it gets hot so I can put it in the canner. It's been sitting out here at the table for about an hour and a half now. So, And when I debubble and put my lids and rings, that should be enough to warm up that jar so I can put it in the canner and it won't mess up. So remember, you got to debubble. Anytime you have liquid and meat, you always have to debubble. That just lets the air from any hidden pockets come out. So I like to debubble all at one time. And I can see this one's got a little too much in there, so I'm going to have to take that out. And I'm going to pour a little bit in this one. Pour a little bit in the other one. I could get another spoon, but I don't really need to because it's just barely over. Ooh, that's hot. Okay. So let me go back. Debubble. Yep, let's put it back on the right head space. I'm right at the bottom ring. Okay, when you debubble, remember you go all the way to the very bottom. You get all the way around, and if you're doing chunks of meat, make sure you go in the center along as the outside because you want all the air pockets to come out. And I'm out of frame, but I'm just debubbling all the jars. That's all I'm doing right now. Okay, so they've all been debubbled. Now I'm going to get my paper towel, which is, I'm going to dip it in my vinegar so I can remove any residue that's on the jar and on the rings of the jar. And this just makes sure that your seal does seal. Hubby's over here watching. Maybe someday we'll get him in more videos. But he's shaking his head saying, no. I guess only one ham in the family is enough. That's me. But I enjoy bringing the videos to y'all. This is a learning method for me, and we all have to learn somewhere or another. And it doesn't matter what your age or what kind of family or financial situation you are. Life happens, and if this is something you want to start to learn how to do, start checking out everyone's videos. I did a lot of and don't forget to do a lot of your own research. Get on the National Preservation on I think it's .org or .com, I forget which. If I remember, I'll put it on the description box. But that's a really good source. Also look at the Ball, B-A-L-L, and Kerr, and they have a lot of great cookbooks. And then whenever you get a towel dirty, just turn it around. Some people like to go ahead and get a new towel, but I don't. So far, I've never had any problems. We're not dead, so I didn't contaminate anybody or give us botulism. I think I'm okay. Oh, I didn't debubble that one. Okay, so let me debubble this one. Ow, that door is hot. Let me clean it just in case. Okay, so that's all cleaned. 2 points! Woohoo! In the trash can! Okay, here's my little magnet. You use these to get your rings out of the boiling hot water. And then just put it on there. I like to, sometimes I put all my rings on at one time. Sometimes I put the lids and the rings. And it just depends on the mood, what all I have going on. Put my jars in the way. And this water is boiling hot. These ring lids are hot. Okay, where's my other rings? And as you can see, I'm reusing lids. I do that. And sadly, I got some new lids for Christmas. and I used a couple of them. They're flimsy. The metal they're using is flimsy, which is why I understand one of the problems is getting the metal. I think they get the metal from China, but I'm not for sure. But that was one of the issues, is the reason they were sort of short was because they couldn't get the metal to make the lids. They make it, I think they make them here in the United States. I don't know where. And I'm not going to be picky about the lid and the color and the gold, whatever. I'm not messing with that. I know some people do, but I'm not going to mess with that. And remember, fingertip tight. Use the middle finger and your thumb. So put your lid on, and then just when you can just close it with just those two fingers. That's fingertip tight. That tells you that is a good seal, because you don't want to over tighten, the same as you don't want to under tighten. Oh, those jars are hot. That's another thing, is when you're working with hot stuff, it's just barely touch it. But you know, when you're just barely touching for finger tight, that's enough. And I'm using regular mouth instead of wide mouth, because this is spaghetti sauce with little chunks of meat. So I like to save my wide mouth for big projects with big chunks of meat. That way it's easier to pour out of the jar. Okay, fingertip tight. Okay. Now we're ready to go ahead and add it to the canner. I'm going to use my leftover vinegar. Put it in your canner, because of the tomato project, it will seep. And I just noticed this one, I added a little, because I was short on the tomato sauce, so I added some of my, I was short the spaghetti sauce, so I added some tomato sauce, but it's not mixing up very well. I don't want just tomato sauce on the top, I want it to mix all up together with the spaghetti sauce. I just want to stir it, because I see that it's there. But I'm saving one of these jars. I think I'll just save this jar. I'm saving one of these jars because we're going to have this spaghetti for supper tomorrow night. So I'm going to put this to the side. Oh, I didn't even close this one. I missed my ring. And this is a white lid, so I'm doing a white ring. Because this is hot, I'm going to transport it. Oh, honey, could you come help me with the jars? I can't get it in the canner. I'm a shorty and I can't reach in the canner. And right now the canner is hot. And I'll always burn my arms because the canner is so tall. We got the All-American 921. I think it's 921. I'll put it in the description box what canner we have. And let me turn off the audio because he doesn't want to be on camera. And what we're going to do is just load the jars in the canner. Okay, here we are. The jars are all loaded. I got all 6 jars in the canner. Okay, hubby's going to put the lid on. It's been on so the water stays warm. And I have the 921 model canner, All-American canner. So don't forget to read your manual instructions on how to turn them on. Excuse me, how to close the lid and set it all up. Okay, so we're going to, as soon as he puts the knobs on, we're going to turn the heat on to high. Wait for the dial to get to temperature. Actually, what we're going to see is a whole bunch of steam coming out of here. And when it's a solid, steady steam, then I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Once it's done that, I put the weight on. Oh, there's a little bit of problem. What's going on? Oh, you know what? It didn't. It's not a close fit. That is one of the issues with All-American, that you have to make sure that it's level. And I'm making sure I'm not getting him in the picture. His hands are in the picture, but he's not in the picture. In the video, excuse me, not the picture, the video. And don't forget to lubricate your canner at least once every 2 or 3 times. I like to do the lid, the bottom, the pot, and the lid. It's to read your instruction manual because it does state that in your manual. Okay, now he's tightening up all the bolts. Okay, so they're all tight. I'm going to turn it on high. And now I'm going to sit here and wash all my dishes, get everything cleaned up, put all my dishes away, and then wait for the steamer to start steaming, and I'll bring you back. Okay, you see that steam coming? That's a nice steady stream of steam. So now you can put the weight on. Didn't take that long at all because it was already a preheated water. And the pot was, you're going to make sure you read to see what temperature, what altitude you're at. I'm at 10, so I need to put mine on 10 pounds of pressure. So I'm going to put it right there. And I use tungsten. I don't like to get burned. So leave it there. Now I'm going to wait for that dial to hit 10 pounds, which is 240. And once that does that, I'm going to turn my canner to the sweet spot. And I'm going to show you right quick. I put markers right here of the sweet spot on my oven. Hope you got mad at me. But as much canning as I do, I needed it. So now we're just going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And then, well, actually, take it back. I can't set my timer yet. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I need to set my timer for 10 minutes because now this got to wait. It has to be on here for 10 minutes. And then I can set it for the pressure time, which is 75, 90 minutes. I got to look at my book. I'll be back. And I'll put a correction in the, I will put a correction on in the video. Okay, the jars are out of the canner. You can see there's some residual in the water, which is siphoning, which is pretty common. Let me excuse my kitchen mess. And there are 2, 4, 6 jars, 5 jars of the spaghetti sauce, and there's 1 jar of just tomato pureed sauce. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.